Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Business as Usual. This is Audrey Russo, and I'm joined by Jonathan Kirsting, who's Vice President of Visibility and All Things Media at the Tech Council. And we are thrilled to have Jeff Broadhurst here today. But first, I just want to get some of the housekeeping out of the way, and then we're going to jump in to talk to Jeff and all things Eaton Park and his hospitality group. So first of all, thanks to Huntington Bank for the work that they've done in supporting us over this entire almost 9-week period of doing daily Zooms and talking to leaders all throughout our community, as well as in Washington and beyond. And they are the largest SBA lender, so you know that they have been busy. The other thank you goes to AT&T for their sponsorship and support of not just today's session, but many of the sessions that we've had, and they are doing active work in our community to make sure that people have access and that they have food and all things that matter. So we had scheduled tomorrow the Global CIO of Zoom, but we have changed him to May 27th, so stay tuned on that. We will have someone tomorrow, and we'll keep everyone posted. Thursday, we have Patrick McKenna from One America Works, who's going to talk about a new paradigm for attracting tech businesses and people to cities like Pittsburgh. And then we wrap the week up with Rich Lunak, who runs Innovation Works, who has recently been provided with additional state capital to help local startups. So a couple of things, we've muted all of you. So muting all of you is, we've done that on purpose. We want to make sure that this is a safe environment, and it's an environment that no one can hear what the background noise is, and that will aid in our clarity. You will also notice that there's a chat box at the bottom of the screen, and that chat box will be used to ask Jeff questions and to make this interactive. So really appreciate that, and we just want to jump in. So I'm very thrilled that we have on today's show Jeff Broadhurst, President and CEO of Eaton Park Hospitality Group. So welcome, Jeff. Thanks for joining us, and really appreciate all that you do for the community, as well as leading Eaton Park Hospitality Group.
Thanks, Audrey. Glad to be here during these interesting times. So thanks for having me today.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, we spoke earlier that we've actually are very passionate about what happens in the restaurant business and the service business. So we had the leader of the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. So we got an upfront understanding of what was happening with him a couple of weeks ago. But just set the table for us really quickly and just describe what Eaton Park and the hospitality group is, because it's more than just the brand of Eaton Park.
It is. So thanks for asking. We're made up of a number of different things, and I'll tell you a little bit about each brand. Obviously, Eaton Park, hopefully everyone's well aware of that, and hopefully you've had a number of meals recently. 44 of our 60 Eaton Parks are currently open for takeout and delivery only. We have 8 of our 10 Hello Bistros that are currently open. Hello Bistro, if you don't know what that is, that's a fast casual concept, salads and burgers. And then 2 Porch restaurants, neither of them are open. One's in the South Hills and one's in Oakland. Those are sort of neighborhood bistros that we're hoping to get the Oakland one back open here pretty quickly. And then that's about 60% of our business. The other 40 or 45% of our business is contract dining. That is almost completely shut down at this point. That's called Parkhurst Dining, focuses on private colleges, universities, as well as higher corporate dining locations. There's a few colleges that are open for students that haven't been able to leave for the spring term yet. And then there's some corporate essential businesses that we're operating food service in, but for the most part, they're pretty shut down. And then the other thing that's probably was a little bit of a mistake. We do have a smileycookie.com website. During the beginning of this sort of panic, we closed that down. We probably should have kept it open because everybody's trying to send smiles to everyone around the country. Right. So if we look back, it's one thing I probably should have made a decision to keep that open. So that's sort of where we are right now.
Okay. So I mentioned that we hosted a few weeks ago, the Restaurant and Lodging Association, but believe it or not, the Tech Council and the Restaurant Association have very, very symbiotic goals. So as we work to attract some of the nation's top talent, we need to be able to demonstrate a vibrant food scene in the region. And you've done that through a lot of your own diversification that you just mentioned. So from a long-term perspective, So what do you see in long term? You know, think about this,
Right.
8 weeks, 9 weeks right now seem long and short, right? With so many changes. What do you see for the future of restaurants in our region?
You know, I do, and Audrey, it's a great question, and it's in some cases it's sad because we really did have a very vibrant scene. In the short term, we know we're going to have a lot less restaurants, which is unfortunate. Long term, I think we'll have less as well, because it does take a lot of time for these to get up and running, the startup capital. I'm assuming people will be gun shy for sure to invest in them, some of these independent startups for sure. So long term, I see the scene being far better than it was 10 years ago, but I also don't see it as good as it was a year or so ago, which is unfortunate. And that's something I think all the folks that are on this call, and I know Audrey and Jonathan, you folks have been tremendous in continuing to really highlight and push restaurants. I mean, it's up to all of us in this community. And I was on a call this morning with the Allegheny Conference, and we talked about the need to really focus on supporting businesses. I'm not talking about just restaurants. I mean, local mom and pop retailers. It's important that we really do, when the opportunity is there, we got to get out and support them. And because otherwise, you know what, the Amazons and everyone else is going to take over, and all these great shops that we all appreciated just aren't going to be around. So it's difficult. I think long term, it'll be better than it was 10 years ago, but I don't think it'll be nearly as vibrant as it was a year or so ago, because people are going to be gun shy.
Well, you know, it's interesting because we have a bunch of questions here, and I don't want to jump in and give my question, folks. So let's hear, let's see, Pittsburgh, this is from Carlos Tribino. Jonathan, you want to read that question? Can you see it? Oh, Jonathan's on mute. So let me jump in. Pittsburgh has a vibrant, innovative restaurant scene, which is a big appeal of the city. So how do you leverage that in the next 12 months? So how do you get people excited about this next new normal?
It is. I mean, first thing that we're talking about, I know all the restaurants, it's all about safety, right? That's something that over the last 8 weeks has been the number one thing we focused on now and into the future. In the restaurant environment right now, I mean, it's daily. There's daily webinars, there's daily calls. We'll do as an industry an incredible job in, number one, keeping our team members safe. That's first and foremost. Then number two, making sure that our guests feel comfortable. When I say us, that's the restaurant industry. And I'm confident that in most cases, restaurants will do a very good job with it. That's something we must do, is make sure that our patrons, our guests are comfortable when they want to come in a restaurant, that they're not going to get sick. So we'll do a good job with that. I think that's paramount. And then we've got to just encourage folks that I talked about a little bit ago, that we've got to encourage folks to get out and really support the local businesses. Get out and try those restaurants, even if it's for takeout. I mean, delivery. We'd obviously love them to go out and dine in, because our servers, that's how they make a good bit of their money for sure on tips. And they really do want to try to create smiles. So it's a combination of trying to get people right now to get takeout, delivery. And then when we have the opportunity to open back up, and I hope that's soon, hope that's very soon, in the next couple of weeks, we can have dine in. Obviously social distance will be spaced apart, so people will be 6-10 feet apart. We got to encourage folks to get out and enjoy a meal in a safe environment. And it's got to happen pretty quick, because there's, in our business, restaurant industry, there's only so much cash, and especially the local mom and pops, that, you know, you can only last so long being closed until the rent bills and utility bills add up. So.
Well, you know, we've actually seen a lot of the, many of the tech companies, believe it or not, the ones who immediately went remote, they are actually giving their employees money or vouchers to purchase food from locals. I've seen that in a couple of companies, which has really been very appealing, and to remind all of us that are on the call that we could all do that.
Audrey, you're exactly right. And I want to, thank, a number of the folks in this call have probably done that. Just last week, there was a company in town that bought a couple hundred gift cards from us to give to their team members. I know a lot of the restaurants, including, there's a number I can go scratch. Don Mahaney has been one of them, but there's a number of them that are supporting local businesses as well, the essential businesses. And that's something, we've got some of these essential businesses in town that realize that, you know what, they've got folks working 24/7 to keep up with things that are essential to keep the economy running. And they're providing meals. We're delivering food actually into businesses right now, essential businesses on a daily basis, that just want to feed their team members, and as a thank you. So absolutely. And folks do that, we sure appreciate it in the whole industry.
So what types of changes, this is a question from the audience. What types of changes, because I saw Jonathan was on mute, so I just jumped in, will you have to make for food safety to take into consideration for this current situation?
For sure, Audrey, and that's it's something we're talking about daily. With the obviously, there's going to be some guidelines, the distancing and how people can stage coming in the restaurants, hand washing procedures. We've even talked to a company in town about UV light, and is that an alternative? So we've looked at any number of ways to make sure that the surfaces are safe, people's hands are safe. We'll have hand washing procedures. We've always had tremendous hand washing procedures, but now that's going to be a whole nother step. I mean, a whole other level of care. And to make sure that people feel very comfortable. You probably, if you've been to any of our restaurants recently for takeout, you know, as we went to blue gloves to make sure that people realize that we're taking this very seriously. When people pick up a meal, it's going to be safe from Eaton Park. And you'll see shields in between some booths. And that's what we're looking for right now, is some guidance, some clear guidance. And we need that from the governors that we operate in, exactly what we need to do. But we're already working on our own procedures. So plastic shields between booths if needed, if there's not the ample spacing. We've got them in front of the cashier stations. And our Director of Safety and Security has been all over this from really 8 weeks ago now. So I feel very confident in that. Now that we've been able to get the product, early on it was difficult to get the products. Our business was pretty slow, but as it's picked back up, it's been good. We've been able to get the necessary hand sanitizers over the last couple of weeks and all that good stuff. So we're pretty good in that front. I feel very confident.
Audrey, we have a really good question from Christian Manders here.
Yeah, we have a lot of good questions. Okay.
Can we bring him up live and have him ask his question? We know Christian's a good dude.
Christian is. Hi, Christian.
Christian, are you there? Okay. Well, if he's not, just ask the question, Jonathan.
I'll just ask the question. So Christian wants to learn more about the idea of more outdoor seating and how that could be an option possibly for Eaton Park. It seems like everyone's talking about getting people outdoors to eat.
It is. It's a good question. And actually, we're hoping that we'll get some guidance that restaurants will be able to open outdoors even in yellow phase. Right now, we're not able to. But we're hoping we'll get some clearer guidelines, because it really makes sense for people to have the opportunity to eat outside. It's far safer for sure. So in some of our restaurants, we've got the ability to do that. In some, we don't. So we've even started talking about, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some boroughs to allow us to go onto sidewalks. Right now, we're technically not allowed to, but that would be a huge positive for the restaurant industry if some of the municipalities would ease up on the guidelines to allow restaurants to expand into sidewalks.
Yeah, what you need to do is you need to add more garage doors like you do in Squirrel Hill.
Like we do in Squirrel Hill or at the porch.
You'll get all kinds of going right in.
No, you're right. They can just walk right in.
You know, the other thing is, if you're in Montreal, you can almost eat outside around, you know, all year long when you have those kind of heaters.
You do. That's exactly right.
So
we'd have to knock a lot of windows out and put some garage doors. We've got a handful of restaurants. We've got outdoor dining. And now in Pittsburgh, obviously the weather is hit and miss. So
when do you think that we'll have a dine-in experience? Do you see that on your horizon?
You know what? A number of the states, I mean, Georgia's now opened back up. Florida's opened back up now. There's a whole handful of them. I really am hoping by the end of this month that we'll have some counties, and it's unfortunate, Beaver County's been this one that's not been able to go yellow because of some of the challenges they've had with the nursing homes up there. But the rest of them are going to be yellow this Friday. So I do hope that we'll be able to transition into green by the end of the month, and it's really necessary. Because the longer places stay closed, the better chance of them never opening back up. And that's the reality of the restaurant business. You can only stay closed so long. So I do hope, we're right now planning to have all of our restaurants back opened, the 16 that are closed in the next 2 weeks for takeout, delivery only, because it takes a long time to ramp back up. And what's amazing, in the last 8 weeks, the managers, some of the team members that were furloughed, they come back to a whole new scene. What's gone on in the last 8 weeks, it's an entirely new restaurant concept with an entirely new menu, entirely new procedures. There's some new technology things we're looking at now to speed up things. So when they come back, we've got to retrain these folks. Believe it or not, it's only been 8 weeks, but it's been more like 8 years. Right. What's gone on. So
what about catering? There are people asking about, you know, contingency planning as well. But what about like your moves towards catering? I mean, I know that you provide support to a lot of colleges and universities and private businesses, but what about that piece of your business?
Sure. On the Parkhurst side, right now, the biggest question is what the college universities do this fall. We're anticipating that most of them will open back up and be on campus, so that's crucial. On the corporate dining side, we're in constant contact with all of our partners there. Most of them have said they're going to be opening back up. It'll be more limited. We've got procedures in place. The self-serve options, those will all go away. So that's probably the biggest thing that we've actually had a number of groups working on the last 8 weeks. Some of our self-serve stations, what do they look like? We're not going to just get rid of serving salads in our Parkhurst locations and at Eaton Park. So we've been able to look at some alternatives. Eaton Park side becomes a little more difficult. Now the Parkhurst side, we've come up with some scenarios on that. So we just can't get rid of an entire category. But we've had great groups working on scenarios. And so once we get some guidance on the college university side, that really is crucial. And I do anticipate that most of them will open up in the fall, because otherwise it's going to become very difficult for some of them to survive if we don't.
So two things that have come up and sparked in terms of some of the questions around innovation. Why not an Eaton Park food truck? And is a salad bar a thing of the past?
Yeah, those are two very good questions. On the food truck side, years ago we played with that, and it probably was in a matter of 6 or 8 weeks. We really sat down as a leadership team and said, we've got to, number one, stabilize the business. And it came down to two things. It's survival, first taking care of our people. And it's a pendulum that every single meeting, those are the two things. How do we continue to survive, which we will? And then number two, how do we take care of our people? So to throw in a food truck in the middle of it was probably just too much, and it wouldn't generate enough. We really need to focus on the long-term viability of Eaton Park and our 60 units, and how do we transform those? Then on the salad bar piece, Audrey, that's probably the piece that scares us the most. It's sure not going to open back up for a period of time like we've ever seen it, but we're looking at other scenarios that takes, quite frankly, the scenarios we look at take a lot more labor. So we've got to figure out how much more we can put from a price perspective. What can we cut out of our model to make sure that we can generate the kind of bottom line in order to put more labor on to staff these salad bars in different ways. So salad bar is 25% of our business. It was. So wow. That's a big piece that we're spending. We know when we open back up, we won't have the salad bar. That's pretty clear. We'll have a scaled down menu, as most restaurants will, for sure. But we do have some scenarios how we can do other forms of a salad bar, like at Hello Bistro. If you've been to a Hello Bistro, we've got an incredible salad bar there, 50 ingredients. It's not self-service. So I think that could be a real plus. People are going, I want a salad bar and I'm not going to serve myself. I want someone to serve me. So we've thought about scenarios on that on both the Parkhurst side and the Eaton Park side. So more to come on that, but they're great questions. So
is Hello Bistro open for takeout now?
It is. It has been open for takeout. 8 of the 10 are. There's 2 that are closed just given their locations, but yeah, they are open. And actually that we've seen pretty interesting results that over 50% of the guests that have come in over the last 8 weeks had not been to a Hello Bistro in the last 5 months. Wow. So we're having a lot of people try them for the first time. It's very similar to Eaton Park as well. So.
So, can you talk about how your team is faring through this? I mean, you talked a little bit about, pulling the leadership team together and trying to figure out what your priorities are, but how are you faring?
Sure. Leadership team, I couldn't be happier. There's probably 1 or 2 on this webinar today watching. In our world, it started really the second week of March is when this all sort of blew up very quickly. I mean, really almost overnight, when the governor in Ohio was the first one to quickly say they're closing down restaurants. And, just like every other team, we still have daily calls at 8:02 every morning. We've got a call, our leadership teams on there. Early on, those were essential and really, in many cases, gave us the opportunity to pivot far more quickly than we ever would have. I'm not going to lie, there's folks that are tired. I mean, there's days that I get up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Groundhog Day all over.
Right.
Same day, every single day. So there's people that are tired. We're encouraging our folks, get out for a walk on a nice day, take 2 or 3 hours, put your phone away and go for a walk. I mean, it's important to make sure we all stay sane through this. What I've seen in many of the companies that are on this, we've been able to increase our decision-making exponentially, the time it takes. Yeah. For instance, delivery. At Eaton Park, we didn't have delivery. We turned on the ability to deliver in days, not months. So I think it was 3 or 4 days from the time we said we must deliver Now there were bugs, and we're under the same thing that many folks are. You know what? It's not going to be 100% when we roll these out. Let's get it rolled out, even if it's 90%. So we've pivoted very quickly. Lots of people were doing different jobs than they were, for sure, which is incredible. The other thing we've done, and some of you have seen it, we've moved into an entirely new business. We now this week will do over 20,000 school lunches to kids that wouldn't have meals in many cases. So we were not serving any K through 12. We were doing colleges, but no K through 12 before this. There was a week, 2 weeks ago, I think we did 28,000 meals to school kids. So that's been a big plus. We've got folks on our leadership team that, are working, producing box lunches every day that weren't doing that.
Right.
We've got our chefs from the porch that are now producing 1,000 box lunches a day rather than putting out an incredible meal at the porch. So people have jumped in, and it really does start with just a great group of people. So I've been very fortunate, and I couldn't be more thankful.
So what do you think about maybe most of the restaurant business, yours included, going to reservations?
That probably is something. I was just on a call this morning talking about that. That's one area that I will see, I do see coming. And we're trying to figure out how to do that and how to adapt. Ours will probably be pretty low tech. People come in, put their name on the list, and they go back into a car. But that is something, especially depending on if it's 50%. We're anticipating to be 50% occupancy. With still a lot of takeout. So I think that's a very viable thing, that it'll go more reservations for sure. How we pull that off, still to be determined. And once again, we're just waiting for the guidance that comes out from the state on exactly what the percentage will be from Dine.
What about supply chains, Jeff? It's been a big deal. Obviously, supply chains have been so impacted, and as obviously limited menus are kind of helping with that. But as hopefully as we ramp back and people start wanting the usual things on the menus, how do you see supply chains working out in the next few months?
Up until a week or so ago, I wasn't too concerned, but just in the last 48 hours, the prices in some of them dropped through the roof. Beef, bacon. Bacon a few weeks ago was almost an all-time low, and now it's back up to an almost all-time high. So we're seeing some of these commodity prices change dramatically. Besides some of the sanitation way back, supplies, the masks, weeks and weeks ago, and the hand sanitizers, we were able to do some of our own things. For the most part, the food has not been a challenge yet. And I say yet. Once things open back up, my concern is that, so much of the entire food and procurement chain has gone to groceries. So now that'll have to come back to restaurants. And how does that shift take place? And in many cases, our world, we were getting 3 deliveries a week. We've gone to 1 delivery a week. So that's going to have to slowly be ramped back up. But at this point, we've not seen shortages of the things that are on our menu. We've seen a lot of prices go up just in the last 48 hours or a week or so. So that's the big concern right now. The good thing is, we're going to go to paper menus. So you know what? Not that you want to reprint them all again, but these are going to be one-time use menus. So we can probably adapt a lot faster than before, when we spent so much money, $50,000 or $100,000 running a menu run. We just don't want to change that quickly. Here we'll be able to adapt faster, and that's the whole plan around it.
Well, do you have a grocery business as well?
I don't know if I'd call it a grocery business. We offer groceries, but we started that a few weeks ago just to give people an opportunity. And if you're getting a great meal from Eaton Park and you need a roll of toilet paper or you need a head of lettuce, you can get it. And we've made a lot of fun social media around it.
You offer an end-to-end solution there, don't you?
We do. We got great bread and we got great eggs, and the prices are reasonable. We don't make any money on them, so it's pretty good deal. But we just offered that.
You do? So where's the website? It's on your website?
It is. If you go on Eaton Park, you can order it. When you go online, you can just order it online on our app.
So people are really asking lots and lots of questions, Jeff. People have ideas about, will there be a breakfast bar that follows the Hello Bistro style? Is there an all new menu? Yeah. Have you examined some of the technology solutions that have been used in other countries? Yeah,
on a couple of those, on the breakfast bar, I think you said breakfast bar, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, breakfast bar.
Yeah, there may be, because we've got a breakfast and a brunch bar, and those obviously go hand in hand with the salad bar. We won't be able to open up those immediately under the way we had in the past. So we're looking at ways to continue those things too. I don't know. We're not planning to open any new restaurants at this time. We are planning some remodels for sure. Our McKnight Road, I know we're working on getting a pickup window put in there right now. I think it's actually construction's underway right now on that. We'll continue to reinvest in our current units, making sure we shore up those from a safety standpoint if we need to make some facility changes. What was the second question, Audrey? Oh, the technology. You know,
Right.
we have looked at some of the technology. Yeah, we have. There's a lot of technology out there. One of the things we're worried about right now is some of these technology companies, will they be around? So some of the smaller ones in our field, we're being very careful and leery. We've got some great partners we're already working with.
Right.
But we're also concerned that, well, some of these other ones, because on the Parkhurst side, we've got a lot of other technology, and a lot of things that are going on there, from different online ordering to kiosk, which may actually go away too, because some people may be leery about touching the kiosks. So there's a lot coming in that. We're trying to use our current technology and grow off of that, if that makes sense, that platform,
Right.
and to get up to speed faster.
So in terms of your footprint, in terms of real estate and what you house, are you thinking that maybe it's going to be 50% occupancy or less?
You know, I'm hoping 50%. That's what, I mean, some states have gone 25%, which seems just really crazy in some cases. 50% is probably the norm. That's the average when you look at all the states that have opened up. I think 50% is pretty the average. You know, I think that's a very fair. Open up at 50%, takeout and delivery will continue. And that gets everyone comfortable. The distancing, you're far more than 6 feet at that point, at least in our units for sure. So that's what we're sort of anticipating and hoping that the governors, I say governors plural, because we're at Eden Parks in 3 states. So anticipating some more guidance on that for sure. And then it'll evolve. There's no doubt about it. It'll evolve over time.
So you will have your employees wear masks and gloves?
We will. That's the plan. And now the guests in some cases will, probably won't. Some of these states that have opened up, you know, guests are just coming in without masks on. So that's a little bit of a challenge in some cases, but they can't eat with them anyhow, so they'd have to take them off. But I mean, our guests, our team members, they can wear their own. We'll provide them, which we already have, masks to them. But in many cases, people are coming up with creative ideas and making their own, so can have fun with it. We're all about creating a smile, so we're trying to find any way to create a smile on our team members' faces. And that's really how this all started. When we went way back, I should have mentioned, from the very first day when this broke, it was all about focusing on our purpose, create a smile. Let's continue to do that in our 5 core values. So every decision is made completely around those.
So is there an Eaton Park smiley face mask?
Some of us have some, and there's a couple of select ones. We're actually contemplating having them made and selling them. So Mercy Century, our CEO, and myself have been talking behind the scenes that but at some point people are going to have their own mask, but there are some, we're talking about that.
So I'd like to have one of those. Can I put a request in?
Sure. We'll make sure. There's a couple floating around, so we'll make sure we get a couple for you right now. I'll send them over 3. So.
I'd really appreciate that. So we're across all of your company's restaurants, what is your favorite dish, and is it available online for order today? So what is your go-to?
My favorite dish would have been different 9 weeks ago, but I've gone back to more comfort food recently, I must admit. And my favorite is probably the pot roast sandwich, which is available online. And I've been having I think I've had more pot roast sandwiches in the last 8 weeks than I've had in the last 8 years. And for all the calories and everything, but I also like the super burger, which travels well. But the menu's been cut down. We're probably at about a half or 40% the typical menu. And we'll slowly grow that back. It'll never get back to probably the same volume we used to have from a complexity standpoint. That's the one thing that does give us an opportunity to look at some of those things that we always thought about doing differently. Right. So this is a perfect time to reset over the last 8 weeks. What do we really want this great brand to look like going forward? And make some of those changes that we weren't able to make in the past for any number of reasons. So,
right.
Audrey, we have an awesome question here that we got to get in.
Want to ask that question?
This is genius. Okay. I just absolutely love this. So Jeff, what about the idea of turning your parking lots back into the old school way of Eaton Park, where you drive in, eat in the parking lot, and have some charging and things like that available? And all of a sudden, maybe get some people on roller skates going out there with the food and plugging it down. You could be going like 1955 again. I just love that idea.
It actually, Jonathan, it's funny, and I'll be quick here because I know we're running up at the time here. But over Lent, Fridays are some of our biggest days of the year. And we actually did that to some capacity. We actually staged off parking lots those it was probably 3 Fridays before when this all broke. And we had people bringing food out. And it was really pretty incredible. We talked about going back to the old times. So we did that. I'd prefer not to do that from liability. Someone gets hit or all the crazy things. But at the same time, it was something we tried because our whole thing was, how do we feed a city when this broke? I mean, what are the different ways we can feed people in this region? Because not everybody's going to want to sit home. I mean, after about a week, I had to find a way to go out and get some food. You can only have so many meals in the kitchen. You need to find other opportunities to get food.
You agree.
So even if it's sitting in your car, and we heard stories of whether there were moms or dads like, you know what, I'm going to Eaton Park to pick up the food, and people were arguing, you know, I'm going to go get the food. I'm going to go get the food because I just want it out of the house. So that we'll see more of that for sure. But
Audrey, we have a really cool comment here that I think we should read to end this thing up with.
What is that?
Eileen Stewart says, she worked at Eaton Park during college, helped her out financially to get through. She says, you treat all your employees like family. What a great company.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that was the one thing, and we're probably ready to close, but we've spent a lot of time thinking about the survival versus taking care of our people. You know, there's one thing about surviving, but if you don't take care of your people, what's the purpose of surviving? I mean, you have no one left at the end of it. I mean, we've got such a great workforce and such a great team. And that's why we've been, I think, fairly successful through this, because people stepped up and they've said, you know what, I want to make sure that we're going to survive through this, which we are. And it's been really important to make sure that, you know, we take care of our people as well, even through this. And it's a balancing act. So, but thanks for the comment. That was really appreciate that.
No, totally unsolicited. So many great comments, Jeff. Thank you as leading the helm of Eaton Park and the hospitality group, all the work that you're doing. You have fans, you're sort of a hometown legacy. People want to see roller skates. They want to see all of that come back. There's lots of comments in here, making sure that you're safe, understanding, you know, the HVAC issues that all of us will face, not just the restaurant business, but all of us will face.
All of us.
But I think everyone is cheering you on. We've given you some ideas. The tech community cares about you, cares about your existence, and cares about moving forward. So you can count on all of them to help you as well. So if there's any challenges that you have, I challenge you to ask us, and let's see if there's any way that people can come up with some solutions. Because,
thank you.
Because we really do care. That's no BS. So I want to thank you, Jeff, for being with us today and taking the time in the middle of your own changed lives, both personally and professionally. And thank you, Jonathan, for joining us, as well as thanks go out to Huntington Bank for their support of our work, as well as AT&T. And I think I'm going to see what I can order from Eaton Park right now.
I'm starving, Audrey.
Thank you, Audrey. Or any of the restaurants out there, just support your local restaurants. We'd all appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow, same time. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.